Yeah, I've seen those.
How does that work? Isn't
I don't
that
know.
water?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But they
Water that
advertised
tastes
it
like ass.
as having the same taste you love in vodka. And I was confused because vodka has one taste, and that's alcohol.
That's true.
So how do you make the taste of alcohol non-alcoholic?
I mean, in as much as I will say that like Tito's and Goose do taste different, but they still taste like vodka. There's
Yes,
not
I mean,
like
there's a blank space there and then a burn.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know what flavor you're sticking into. And not to mention, the reason that you put vodka into a drink is so you can have something with a proof, but not taste the alcohol really. That's why it gets introduced into a lot of cocktails.
What tails?
Cock.
Classic.
That's a different show.
Yeah.
I didn't come here to complain about zero proof alcohols. I came here to sell you something. And what I came here to sell you was some random number one hits tonight here on the Fairly KickAss podcast.
I thought you were going to say I came here to fuck John Stamos.
I'm not Cloris Leachman.
Fucking legend. Absolute legend.
Legend.
Wow.
Oh, we have a legendary podcast episode.
I mean, we dug ourselves a legendary hole.
We did indeed.
Very early in this episode.
We're very, very good at that. We, Zach, Jay, Dan, SomeOnes. We have done it before, back in May of this year, actually. Was the last time that we did it. Premise, super, super simple. We each have a random year that we are given. We are instructed to find a number one song from that year and talk about it. If you notice, I didn't mention number one on what, because we get to decide the on what. The chart, totally up to us. The song, the artist, totally up to us. The guardrails, as usual, are somewhere in a neighboring county.
Paramedics are nowhere to be found.
Unfortunate. That will come back to haunt us.
It usually does.
We, just to real quickly recap the years that we are all doing. Jay, you had 1986. Dan had 2022. And I had 2007. And I was going to ask y'all what you thought about your years, but that's literally the presentation. So I figure we'll leave that cat in the bag until we get there. So yeah, let's go earliest to latest. Jay, if you're ready to rock, let's
yeah, that sounds
I'm excited to hear what y'all have.
Yeah, so I went weird with this one, but not terribly weird. And I'll explain why in a moment, because I had 1986, as you pointed out. And 1986 was the year where I guess not the year because it happened a lot, but where the top of the popular music charts was crowded with songs that were designed for the age of MTV. So we had synthesizers and oversized drums and memorable visual images and polished studio production. And those had become as important as the melodies themselves. And even in such a competitive and visually driven year, Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer stands out. The song was commercially successful, musically inventive, playfully suggestive, and accompanied by one of the most ambitious music videos ever created, rivaled only by one of the other artists that I could have talked about. But for me, what was cool about it is it also occupied this rare position between mainstream and alternative music worlds. So Sledgehammer was a number one pop hit, but it came from an artist whose experimental and art rock reputation gave him credibility with college radio listeners. So that's why I picked to talk about that song. It is one of the biggest hits of 1986, but it's not just that. It is a complete demonstration of what a pop single could accomplish. So before he did that one, he was best known as an adventurous and sometimes very eccentric musician, as the original lead singer for Genesis, this theatrical progressive rock while wearing elaborate costumes and adopting unusual characters on stage. Then after leaving the band, he had developed this solo career that included experimental production and unconventional rhythms, political subject matter, and influences from music outside the traditional British and American rock world. he had earned critical respect and some commercial success, he was not generally considered what would be like a conventional pop star. And Sledgehammer kind of changed that. So it was released as the lead single from So, and it reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. I should have written down how many weeks it was there. It was only a couple, I think, maybe 2. And the achievement for me is especially notable because the song sounded both familiar and unusual. Its foundation came from soul and rhythm and blues stuff that Gabriel had loved when he was a kid, like the punchy horn arrangement, recalling classics from like Stax and Motown, but had this energetic bass line and tightly controlled percussion, which gave it like the physical force of almost a dance record. And at the same time, he surrounded those traditional influences with unmistakably modern 80s production, electronic textures and processed drums, carefully layered sounds. It didn't erase the roots, but it did make it feel contemporary. And then we get into the video itself, which made the song an even greater cultural event. The director, his name was Stephen R. Johnson, if I remember correctly, and created with contributions from a bunch of animators from Aardman Animations and Brothers Quay. But the video used stop motion, clay animation, live action effects, and painstaking frame-by-frame photography. And Gabriel reportedly spent long periods lying beneath a sheet of glass while objects, images, and painted effects were arranged around him one frame at a time. And his face became a constantly changing landscape, fruit circling his head, toy trains, etc. And this was happening at a time when a lot of music videos relied on concert footage and glamorous costumes and romantic storylines or real simple choreography. And Sledgehammer looked like an experimental animated film. It was strange enough to appeal to viewers that were interested in art and animation, but it was also funny and colorful and energetic enough to be a mainstream television favorite. It got 9 MTV Video Music Awards, which set a record for a single video, and its popularity demonstrated how thoroughly MTV had changed the music industry. A song could not any longer just be judged by what was heard on the radio. The visual presentation could be a part of the composition's identity. And the relationship between the song and the video is one of the biggest reasons why it is especially notable for 1986. Third thing I mentioned in that intro that I said was that it succeeded in musical communities that didn't always overlap. So was the single most played record on college radio in 1986, which is surprising based on its performance in mainstream radio as well. College radio in the mid 80s was helping establish a parallel musical culture that was built around alternative artists like REM and the Smiths and the Replacements and the Cult. And they didn't exist in those commercial areas of pop radio. But Peter Gabriel did, and he managed to retain that art rock reputation while creating a song that reached the very top of the American singles chart as well. And for me, that is what made it most worth talking about out of all of the plethora of things that I could have for 1986. That was a rich list. I'm not going to lie. It was a very rich list. This one, it stood out for a number of reasons, but that combination of musical craft and visual imagination and humor and that crossover appeal makes it not just notable for 1986, but it's been 40 years and people are still dancing to it.
Yeah, it remains like a bop that holds up to this day. It certainly is not just like, oh, I remember back when this song was great. I remember back in the... No, this song has never not been great.
Never not been great.
And I love the motivating factor on this for you being that it made that crossover between college radio and mainstream radio. And it's actually not a common thing at all. Well, much of a common thing. My short time playing records at our local college station, I remember one particular record caught fire and I would try to play it like once an hour, which I'm pretty sure is against the rules, but you know, whatever. There was no one there to stop me. You weren't in charge, so you couldn't have done it. And the next, I would play it like, 3 times in a show one week, and the next week I went in and I go, well, wait. Where's the Gnarls Barkley record? And I said, Kiss started playing it last week, so we had to get rid of it. Like, damn.
Ooh.
Mainstream ruins everything. also the simple fact that I don't know if, and this could just be like a perspective thing of coming into it where we can, but I don't know if we picture the influence of college radio as strong in the mid 80s as it may then later become in the end of the decade into the early to mid 90s. So the simple fact that it was able to boost the art rock credibility of someone like Peter Gabriel there seems more impressive. I could be wrong, and it's always been as influential or more so from that era.
You know, I would have to go back and look. I was a toddler, so
yeah, I mean,
like,
yeah.
I don't remember it, but I would say, you know, it clearly had an influence here, and the rest of the Billboard chart for that year is very much not that. Like it's all the Whitney Houstons and Prince, Mr. With that one's weird. Lionel Richie is the number one. Simply Red,
Right.
all of that kind of stuff. Peter Cetera is on here a lot this year, actually.
I'm glad you took that year.
Should
Thank
be,
God.
as he should be.
Well, I mean, I didn't have to listen to everything. I made my choice and ran with it.
If you heard one Peter Cetera song, you've heard them all.
Well, it is The Next Time I Fall with Amy Grant is one of them. Anyway,
Yeah, that's a jam.
there's a few tunes on here that feel like college radio had a lot of influence, which I mean, I would argue that the Human League probably shouldn't have been a number one on pop radio. West End Girls is another one that like feels like it's probably boosted by college radio, or at least the British.
As a human, definitely would be the British thing, but also the production on that is why that got it.
100%.
Mm-hmm. I guess the thing that kind of surprises me is just that, and I guess this is kind of like a timing thing of like when college radio as like a subgenre kind of had its heyday. Because if you look at like, you know, one of my favorite records of all time is Peter Gabriel's first album, which is called Peter Gabriel, not to be confused with his next three albums, which are called Peter Gabriel, Peter Gabriel, and Peter Gabriel. But Peter Gabriel, the first, is a fantastic album front to back, but also I feel like it's tailor-made for college radio.
Yeah.
Problem is it came out in 1977. And I feel like that would have at least predated like college radio versus radio you listen to in college. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole of like where college radio influence had the most impact, which I would argue is late 80s, early 90s, but
Totally.
But also still like currently, like maybe not radio itself, but the people who like that style of music as genre. But we can go down that rabbit hole another time. I just love that one of my favorite artists as an artist, Peter Gabriel generally comes toward the top of the list for me.
Hell yeah.
And I really greatly enjoy that he had this kind of cultural impact. I don't love his stuff with Genesis. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
This when he was with Genesis in the 70s, like that wasn't for me. I prefer the Phil Collins Genesis, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I love Peter Gabriel's solo stuff. I have actually seen him live, and he's brilliant. It's a weird show.
I can only imagine how wonderful of an experience that would be.
Yeah.
Good shit, man. That is going to be hard to, not that this is a competition at all, but I think, Dan, I feel like yours is going to be really spot on. Well, granted, you did have 2022, so you're kind of working from behind, but I'm going to give it a try and see if I can come close to the brilliance of one Peter Gabriel. So 2007. It was both better and about the same as I expected, because I literally expected nothing from the musical void that was this year. But we got a job to do, and damn it, we're going to do it. So the thing is, like with these, like we always, you know, depending on what the year is, like there are so many different charts in the US, so many different charts around the world. You know, sometimes we like to just stay to the best. Sometimes we like to branch out. This was one of the branch out times for me. I knew I had the Billboard Hot 100 in my back pocket if I needed it, but I also wanted to see what things were looking like in 2007 in other countries, knowing how absolute ass they were here. So my searching took me to the UK, and to a bit of a surprise. An artist that absolutely took the British music charts by storm. The British music charts, by the way, are the official charts. That's their official name. It's dumb as shit, but we just have to go with it because that's what they call it. Not only a number one single, not only a second number one single, specifically in the UK's downloaded music charts, which we'll ever so briefly cover, even though it is going to be the song that most of y'all are more familiar with from this artist, but an album so incredibly huge and so unexpectedly huge that it closed out the last 6 weeks of 2007 in that top spot, as well as the first week of 2008 before being dethroned by the Radiohead classic In Rainbows. After all of that lead up, was the name you were expecting to hear from me Leona Lewis? It wasn't the name that I was expecting to say to you. And I promise that's not at all a slight to Leona at all, because I had only heard the big single off of said Stratospheric album called Spirit, the album called Spirit, the song, as most of you have heard, called Bleeding Love. Spirit remains to this day the best-selling debut album by a solo female artist in the history of the UK charts. Spirit went 10x platinum by British phonographic industry or BPI standards. There are going to be naysayers out there. There are going to be folks that claim that this was a bump from winning the X Factor the year prior. I believe she was the third ever winner of the X Factor. And it's a fair claim. Because remember, this is the vehicle that made absolute superstars out of names such as Steve Brookstein, Joe McElderry, and Shane Ward. We all know those guys. Oh, but Zach, it's a British chart, and she was born and raised in London. Of course they're going to love her. She was from London. Okay, that's also fair, because apparently she was also born and raised in Sydney, Vienna, Toronto, Berlin, Dublin, Auckland, Zurich, and let me just flip through my notes real quick. Let's call it New York City, because Spirit hit number one on the album charts of all of those countries too. This album was an absolute behemoth that somehow I had completely missed up until doing research for this episode not too long ago. Now that we're all fairly correctly putting some respect on Leona Lewis's name, let's talk about what makes her cover of the song A Moment Like This amazing, which is, by the way, the song that I chose for this effort. Yes, it is a cover. Specifically, it's a cover of a Kelly Clarkson song. And Leona, to her credit, absolutely owned the song. It's a topic that we've covered before, no pun intended. Covers that sound better than the original. And I feel like those stripes are earned, even when compared and measured against one of the three best pure vocalists of the 2000s and beyond. I said what I said, and I stand by it. Kelly Clarkson is an absolute vocal powerhouse. One that really never got her chance to be a powerhouse when she was held down by the shitty pop, quote unquote, anthems that she was, being forced to sing in some of her previous work. She is resplendent, and somehow she was upstaged in this cover. Just take a listen to it. The vocal runs, amazing. The lack of effort required in this track. It does not sound like Leona is trying at all. And yet it sounds so clean and so pristine. And then as you're listening, the clock strikes 2 minutes, 55 seconds, and there's a pause. And in your mind, you're like, I know what this means. A key change is coming. And God damn it, does it come. Holy shit. Like, remember that one scene in Kill Bill Volume 2? It's like the flashback where like the bride is in the hotel room and she just got the results of her pregnancy test. And then that fellow assassin, Karen Kim, comes in and they've got like the close quarter standoff, and Kim's like looking over with a shotgun, and the bride's like on the bed with the pistol, and the bride said something like, how good are you with the shotgun? And Karen Kim says, not that I need to be, but I'm a fucking surgeon with this shotgun. That is Leona Lewis in her cover of A Moment Like This. An absolute fucking surgeon. Not that she needs to be. She could hit it with the power and that would still be enough. But she hits it with the power and the precision. And it's just a 1-2 punch of just an absolutely wonderful listening experience. to close it out here, this song does function as Leona's career debut single. Interestingly, it also functioned as Kelly Clarkson's career debut single. So two wonderful singers, two prolific vocalists, and this being the song that ties them both together and serves as our de facto introduction to both of them is very, very fitting. Leona, if you're listening, I know you just wrapped up a residency in Vegas here earlier this year. Your last studio album, I Am, came out in September of 2015. And I'm not saying that, I would like to have more music from you, even though I would. But I will say that I can only hope for several more moments like this.
Aww.
Yeah.
You wrapped it up with a warm fuzzy.
That's what we do here, man.
Not usually.
No, not really at all.
The exact opposite. It's what
Would you like me to shatter that 100%?
Please.
I gotta break the fourth wall and explain why I was dying silently back here mid thing, because you talked about a key change, and anytime someone talks about a key change, all I hear in my head is Bo Burnham. You dumb motherfuckers want a key change.
He's not wrong.
So that's where my head was for the last minute and a half of that.
Oh my god!
I was just impressed that Zach was able to resplendently recall a scene from a movie.
A movie that I've actually watched. I did have to rewatch the scene to make sure I got all the particulars right. But yeah, I did. I think I actually saw both of those in the theater, believe it or not.
Wow.
I know.
Nothing you said was inaccurate. I feel like I do overlook Leona Lewis on the regular when talking about powerhouse vocalists. Kelly Clarkson, you're right, does show up on those lists, but I do think Leona Lewis should show up on at least a few of those lists. I think it's odd. I didn't think about the similarities between them and how that song was the introduction we got to both of them. Not something that I had been conscious of. That's pretty cool and notable.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Leona had done the X Factor the year before, so at least she was known to the folks who watched that show. But I don't think that had like as much of a global presence as like the album did. So,
right.
No, I was about 5 minutes ago old when I found out that she had in fact covered a moment like this. It's an interesting. Don't get me wrong, I love the pick because looking at this year, it is very two sides of a coin. I don't know how and it you just kind of look down the top like hot 100 of the year and it flips hard from spot to spot.
Have we done that year on a re-rank?
I don't know.
Also, it doesn't really matter. Continue with your thought.
Yeah,
we'll get there. Also interesting to find out that one of her other singles is another cover of Snow Patrol's Run, which I do need to hear now.
Yeah, to be totally honest, I did not take in that one either.
I mean, it just barely scratched the top 100 here, but it was a number one over there.
Yeah.
And she's consistently had successful singles through that last studio record that you were talking about.
Yeah, like you said, maybe not as much on like the Billboard charts, but certainly on the British official charts. She has been, at least a little bit of a mainstay.
And number one covers of both Everybody Hurts and Bridge Over Troubled Water. Okay. Again, it feels like there's the like two opposite poles here, because it's what you might consider the negative of someone who would be a talent show winner, and her success has been, for the most part, at least outside of in the UK, her success has been cover songs, which is exactly what a talent show winner does. It's a glorified karaoke show, but it's also done with such an amazing level of talent that you're going, she really should be more than just a talent show winner that made good for the couple of songs. Like there should be more here. I mean, there is if you dig deeper, but to the public image, at least.
Which is so interesting when you have someone like that who is like Kelly Clarkson, who was and granted, she was much more popular in in the realms of popular music than Leona was. But I don't think that for her vocals, especially early in her career, that she got nearly as much credit as she deserved after winning Idol in season. Was she the very first winner?
1.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident. Yeah.
yeah. So many corollaries between their two careers. It's wild.
Wow.
Cool.
Dan, is there any let's ask this. Your song, is it closer to Sledgehammer, or is it closer to A Moment Like This, or is it somewhere off on a different axis?
Let's put it this way. Before I give the whole thing, is that Jay had me sweating bullets for a second there.
Oh shit.
Uh-huh. Because I was about to end this show very, very prematurely. But don't have to. We're good. All things considered. But at the end, I do have to ask y'all a real question on this. And I feel like if there was anybody who was best positioned to answer this question straight up, it would be the two of you.
Okay.
And I ask you, gentlemen, friends, if I wasn't cheating, would I really be trying?
There's not an answer to this question that doesn't get me in trouble.
I will take no offense. I know what I am. And that's to say that I'm kind of cheating, sort of cheating. Because the song I picked most definitely hit number 1 on a chart in the year of 2022, peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. It found its way to the top of the UK singles chart.
Good man.
And the ARIA Top 100 and the Irish singles charts, the Agata Top 100. That's from Lithuania, we found out last night. The Aotearoa Top 40, the top of the Schweizer Hit Parade, even hitting the pinnacle of the Sverige Top Lisan. All right,
very nice.
Think I'm done offending all of our international listeners, which we found out we actually have a few. So I'm sorry. That track was helped its way around the world by the one and only Netflix, but it made its grand debut in a much different venue to an audience of 9 million Brits on a BBC One chat show called Wogan in the summer of 1985. Lads, let's talk for a few minutes about Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill.
Yeah.
And before we tell the story of how a song hits the charts 37 years after its release and initial charting, which that part of the story is pretty short, a short one, but I digress. How about a little on the track itself? Running Up That Hill, parentheses, A Deal with God, and we'll get back to that in a few moments, was the first single off Bush's 5th studio album, Hounds of Love. It is immediately recognizable by the main riff, constructed with a Fairlight CMI synthesizer and allegedly its cello sample, which is not what that sounds like, but sure, if it's you got to call it something, you can call it a cello. Interestingly enough, the creators of that particular DAW actually coined the term sampling for what their machine was capable of, so there's a little bit of history on that one. No DAW jokes this time around. I'm a little rusty on that, but at least you learned something. So we're listening to a very 80s production, no matter what, as it takes on a timeless subject, the inability for men and women to understand each other. And doing my best not to turn it into a cheap 1980s stand-up comedian's routine, it's not in any way as simplistic as, do you ever notice how men and women rarely get along and rarely understand each other? Bush is instead trying to build the scenario where a man and a woman get some divine intervention to help solve their communication issues, making that deal with God to switch places and get the point of view of the other. So I guess less Annie's Evening at the Improv and more Freaky Friday. Either version, actually any of the three, to be honest. The last one, believe it or not, Jamie Lee Curtis, Lindsay Lohan, pretty good. But I digress. Speaking to the London Times back in 85, Bush said about the verses, quote, "It seems that the more you get to know a person, the greater the scope there is for misunderstanding. Sometimes you can hurt a person purely accidentally or be afraid to tell them something because you think they might be hurt when they'll really understand. And the rest of the song is her trying to convince said man that getting where she's coming from will be a good thing for them. She originally had wanted to emphasize the enormity of the task of changing places for perspective by calling the whole track a deal with God, as in this would be something that would be great and we'd be so happy and being able to understand each other, but we're so different it's far from easy that only divine intervention could make a feat like that happen. Or maybe I'm reading into it that much. So don't look for this swap to be offered at your next couples therapy session, I guess. Bush was convinced by her label, though, that her desired title may scare away radio, and okay, it is the mid-'80s, I get it. Hence the compromise of putting that in parentheses and taking Running Up That Hill from the chorus, and as a version of the walking a mile in someone else's shoes idiom, which, again, totally get the messaging, but ignores the reality behind the dad joke meme that you are farther from them when you actually do that. Also, you have their shoes, so the chances of a possible pursuit are dramatically cut. But anyway, all of this is a very surface level examination of the track that really got more traction in Bush's native land, much like, well, both of your artists, honestly. Mm-hmm. It originally got to number 30 on the Hot 100 over here, but all the way up to number 3 in the UK, only topped by her debut single Wuthering Heights back in 78. But that's not why I'm talking about Bush now. We're talking about it because Winona Ryder had been a longtime fan of Bush and pushed to get her work included on this little show. Yeah, I don't know. You may or may not have heard about it. Stranger Things. It was kind of a cultural moment for like a decade. MBD. Bush, luckily, was also apparently a fan of the show and did something that she rarely ever does, allowing them to license her song. And here comes, I guess, the dirty little confession that comes with this very quick history of this song. I knew that Bush hit number 1 with this song because of the popularity of the show and being the most streamed song in the world for most of the summer, as was introduced to a whole new audience and generation. But I knew that because I'm a chart watcher who has Google. I did not know that because I saw the scene with the remix. I don't have any idea who Max is or what he was running from. I have never seen a second of Stranger Things.
Missing out, man.
But that confession aside, the track's recent charting set some new marks in chart history, making Bush the oldest artist to reach number 1 on the UK singles chart at the age of 63 at the time. She also had the longest gap between number 1s on that particular ranking, going 44 years between peaks. Finally, it officially had the longest slow burn of any single, taking 37 years from its release to making it to that number 1 spot.
That's awesome. That's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
It's also a brilliant song, like top to bottom, front to back. Like that song is brilliant. I even love the placebo version of it, though it's a little bit odd to think about that. But wow.
There have been a number of actually really good covers as well. So I don't know if that's a credit to the songwriting ability that you write a song so good that anybody can kind of pick it up and has a canvas to work on.
I never thought about it like that, but it makes perfect sense. Like, A, no one wants to cover a shit song, and B, if you cover a shit song, it's going to sound like shit.
I mean, Tori Amos frequently will cover it live, so it's a good start right there, I'd assume.
She didn't when I saw her. The nerve. The gall.
Oh, wait, Buck's back.
George Lucas right there in the corner. Yeah, like it's astounding to think like, and I know they're completely different songs and had completely different significance in the show. I guess this is getting a little inside baseball, but like most people forget about the other big hit that was featured in that same season of Stranger Things, and that was Master of Puppets.
Master of Puppets, yeah.
Which did rechart, but did not hit number 1. I think it topped out at number 4 in the Netherlands. Like it was a drop in the bucket. And that's arguably, I mean, not arguably, it is the more popular song here in the States. So I always thought that was interesting that like one, and I'm not comparing this. Yes, I am. Running Up the Hill is a better song
why
than
not?
Master Republics. I feel like that's an objective statement. But yeah, for once, I think the charts and the re-entry into those charts got this one right.
Yeah. And I was going to bring up the same thing too, because Master of Puppets is, well, I mean, it didn't chart in the 80s. So that was its first appearance, or it didn't chart originally, right? Like when it was released. But so the Stranger Things chart was its first appearance on the charts. So like, I think just all around, man, first of all, huge nerd, love Stranger Things, wonderful show. Don't sleep on it. But the soundtrack alone is worth the show.
Yeah, even the scoring is just
all of it
phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out Eddie Munson, shout out Gene Gray. I mean, Max Mayfield. Two very pivotal moments in the history of the show.
Yeah,
which I still haven't finished, by the way. And I feel shame not watched the last season yet. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the end of it. I know a lot of people didn't, but
I like the end of Game of Thrones, so I'm one of those weirdos, I guess.
We're gonna get that's gonna be the thing that gets us all the calls.
Yeah.
You guys like those? What, did you like the end of How I Met Your Mother too?
I did, actually.
Did we just hit on our new podcast?
Come yell at us about our TV watching.
Yes. Oh, it's perfect.
We could do worse.
And we have.
Yeah.
3 for 3, boys. 3 great songs from 3 great Brits. Somehow we ended up on a clean sweep in the UK.
There's probably something there in that data as well. I don't know what.
Yeah, we'll run the numbers once we finish up this episode, and we'll get back to you with our findings.
Yeah,
is that how science works?
I'll call the show therapist again.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine how many hours we're booking against that.
Yeah, I'd be worried about. Actually, not that I mentioned it, we would. Man, if we had a show therapist just for show stuff, I'm pretty sure the dude has got a yacht just from us.
Telling you, living the high life.
I think the opposite is true. He's probably penniless, tucked into the corner, ripping his hair out because of us.
No, maybe, but we stopped taking Ted with us a while ago.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's the words out of my mouth.
That's true.
That has improved morale across the board.
It's a 5-year-old bit, and I'm not going to let it go.
Good, man. Nor should you. Listeners,
you know what else?
Oh, please. If you're a fan of Midwest niceties.
Oh, no, I insist. It's the Wisconsin goodbye we're trying here.
Oh.
So if you like to tell us about your fandom of random Brits that may or may not have affected the charts, please do so by hitting up at Fairly KickAss on all of your better social media outlets, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, of course. That's just at Fairly KickAss, also on YouTube as well. And at fairlykickass@gmail.com if you can prefer to do it that way. We take all compliments. We know we don't have any, so prefer to just yell at us there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, PayPal, credit cards, whatever you got. Just email them if that's a thing you can do. Email us your PayPal information. I think that's how it works.
Didn't realize we went from landing the plane to scamming the plane.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man, in this landscape. It's hard out there.